Every time you click, the date picker calendar re-renders everything. Header, weekday, all 42 days, footer, everything. If we just click a date, it renders the complete date picker. It's like repainting your entire house because you hung a picture. Today we fix that, and in this process we will make our code much cleaner. Look at our datepicker.js file. It is doing the rendering here, subscribing to state. It is creating the complete DOM here. It is doing so many things. If we look at our event bus and state manager, they have one single responsibility. Event bus handles the event, state manager handles the state. But who owns the presentation, the rendering? Right now, date picker is doing everything. Today, we fix this. We'll create a new file which handles only the rendering of date picker. Now, let's start our calendar view file. In this render folder, all these files are from our previous core files. So let's create a new file in render CalendarView.js. And first we'll create our class CalendarView, and our constructor, it will take 3 parameters: container, event bus, and options. Now let's initialize the values. So first is container. This container, it will contain or hold our date picker. So it's container. Then we need event bus for communication, and then we have options. Now we need to store the DOM reference. So we'll create a this dot elements, and inside it we will have header, which is null, title, calendar, we have weekdays, days, and footer. These are our elements. Now let me explain what are all these elements. So if we open the date picker, in here, this part here, this is our header, and these are our weekdays. So we are dividing our calendar into small components. So these are the weekdays, these are our days, and this is our footer, and this is our title, and this complete is our calendar. So all these components are our elements, and we will store reference for each of them. And when we'll create these things, we will not destroy them. We will just keep them until our date picker is on the screen. Now let's create our functions. So in the calendar view, before we create our calendar, the render method, we need to calculate the days data. So the day data, like if it is today date, or if it is selected, it is disabled, it is previous month, next month. So all that data we will calculate first, and then we will create our render method to render that data. So now let's start with our first method, generate month grid. Now it will create the month data in an array of object. So let's just define it. Year, month, it will take 3 parameters. Selected date. Now inside here we need a days array. This days array, it will be a total 42 days and 42 objects inside it. For each day there will be one object. Now let's create some variables. Today it's new date, we need first day, and it will be new date, year, month, and 1, and we will get the day. The day again, it will be 0 to 6. Next we need total days, new date, year, month plus 1, and 0, and we will get the date. So we will get the total days for current month, and then we need previous month days, get the date. Now let's create the previous month calculation. So we'll say previous month equals to 0, then it's 11, else it's month minus 1, previous year, if month equals to 0, then it's year minus 1, else it's year. Now for the next month equals to 11, then it's 0, else month plus 1. Then we have next year. So if month equals to 11, it will be year plus 1. And else it will be year. Now let's create the previous month days. So previous month days, will start a for loop. Let I equals to first day minus I minus 1. We start with the minus 1, then I is greater than equals to 0, I minus minus, and in here we'll say day equals to previous month days minus I, and we'll say the date, new date, previous year, previous month, and day. Now in our days array, we will push this object. First we will push the day, what day it is, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 31, what day it is. Then month, it will be previous month. So we are pushing the previous month data, it's previous month. And for year, will previous year, and the date, what date it is, the actual date, the complete date. Then we have is current month. So all the calculation we are doing it here. So it is a current month, no, it's false. Then we check it is today. For that we need to call a method. We'll call is same day. We'll create this method later, but for now let's add it here, today. And next we have is selected, and again we will just call this method, this dot is same day, and we will give it date and selected date. Next we have is weekend. We'll say this dot is weekend. We call it, we will create this method later. Now let's say is disabled, it is false. So you see all these calculation we are doing for each day. So when we use it, we don't have to calculate, we will just read the value and create our day element. So this is our previous day. Now let's create the next day here, the current month, then the next month. So current month days for let day equals to 1, day less than equals to total days minus total days, then day plus plus. And here let's get the date. Date is new date. We'll say year, month, and day. And now let's in our days array we will push the new object for the current month, and we'll say this is the day, this is the month, this is year, this is date, is current month. Yeah, it is true. Then we say is today. No, we are not sure, so we'll calculate it. Is same day, we'll pass it date and today. Then we say is selected, we have to check, so this dot is same day, we'll pass the date and selected date. Next we have is weekend, we have to check is weekend and we'll pass the date. And the last is disabled. No, it is not disabled. So this is data for our current month. Now let's calculate data for next month. Now for the next month days, so for that we need few variables. So how many cells we have? Total cells we have 42. And how many remaining cells we have? Total cells minus days dot length. So how many days we have already pushed into our days array? So those are the days. Now we have the remaining cells. Let's add the for loop for the next month. So let day equals to 1, day is less than equals to remaining cells, and day plus plus. So it's our for loop. First we get the date. We'll say new date. We'll pass next year, next month, and day. Now let's push the data in our days array. So days dot push, and here is the object. Object is day, month equals to next month, year equals to next year. This is our date, and then we have is current month. No, it is not a current month, so it's a false. We say is it today? We have to check. Let's say this dot is same day, we will pass it date and selected date. Next let's check is it selected, we'll call it again is same day, and we will give it. So for the today we don't give the selected date, we give date and today. For selected we give it date and selected date. Next we have is weekend, we'll call it this dot is weekend, we give it date, and the last we have is disabled, and this is not disabled. So now our days array is ready. We can just return it from this function. We'll say return days. So days are ready. Now the data for our days is ready. Now let's create our render method. So we'll create our render method. It takes the state. So whatever current state our DatePicker is holding, we will pass to the render method, and then based on the state it will render the DatePicker. First it will need some values, so let's get it from state. The values are view month, view year, selected date, and is open. Now let's create the context where so we can use this context to generating our HTML values. Like when we create the weekdays HTML or we create our days HTML, we will read this context from here. Let's create a variable, a simple variable. We'll say render context month equals to view month, year equals to view year, and month name equals to this dot get month name, and we will pass it view month. Now this function does not exist, we will create this function. For now let's just add it here. Then we have selected date and is open, and our days array. For the days array we can call the generate month grid, and we can pass view year, view month, and selected date. Okay, our render context is ready. Now let's create the HTML for the header, weekend, days, or footer. So first is our header HTML. For this we'll say this dot will have a different method for the header, but for now let's just add it here, render header, and it will take two parameters, render context dot month name and render context dot year. This is our header. Next we have weekdays HTML. So weekdays HTML, and for this one we will have a different method. We'll call this dot underscore render weekdays, and it will take no parameter. Then we will have our days HTML, all the days, and this will be the render context dot days. This days is our array. Now for this array we'll use the map method, and we'll take each day, and then we'll say this dot underscore render day. Now to render each day we will have a different method. We are not just doing it here, we will have a separate method, render day, and then when we get all the data we'll join all of them here. So this is our days HTML. Now we need the footer. Footer HTML, let's create it. So this is this dot underscore render footer, and we will pass it a boolean selected date. So whatever it is, like if there is any selected date, true or false, we will send it to render footer. Now let's create our complete HTML. We'll say HTML equals to, inside it first we need the header, because the header comes first, then we have the weekdays, then we have days HTML, and finally the footer. So let's add here header HTML. Then we need HTML, so I just write it here. It's black and white, DatePicker, calendar, and inside it we have div class black and white DatePicker weekdays, and then we can render here weekdays HTML. So weekdays HTML, and we close this div here. Okay, this thing should come here, and then we have the days HTML. So for that we need a div with the class, we'll say black and white, date picker, days, and then we render the days HTML. So let's say days HTML, and we close our div here and one more div. And finally, we'll add the footer HTML. So footer HTML. So this is our complete HTML. Now let's add this HTML into our this. We have defined a variable, the container. Now we will add it into the container. Let's come here and we can say this dot container dot inner HTML, and it will be our HTML that we just created. Then we have all these initialized elements. They are still null. We need to initialize them because now we have the date picker. So we'll say this dot cache elements. So we'll put all the elements from this HTML. We will query our container and update our elements. We will create this method cache elements for the reference, and then we can update the visibility of our container so we can see the date picker on the page. So we'll say date container dot style dot display, and if it is open, then we can say it's block, else it's none. And finally we can emit an event because now our date picker is rendered. We will say event bus dot emit. Let's go up in here. Okay, this is our event bus. Yeah, we'll say emit, and we will emit the events dot view rendered, and we'll pass the data state equals to render context. So this is our render method. Now inside the render method we have created these methods. So let's start with the get month name, and it's very simple. We'll create get month name. It takes the month as a parameter, and then we need all the month names in an array. Then we can just simply return months of month. That's it. That is our month name. Next we have, let's see what we have. Okay, we have these things here is same day. So let's create this one here is same day. It takes two dates, date 1 and date 2. Then it will just compare it and return the boolean. So first we will check if there is no date 1 or there is no date 2. If we don't have date 1 or date 2, then we cannot compare it. We will return false. But if we have the date, what we can return? We can just check. So we'll say date 1 dot get date equals to date 2 dot get date, and we'll add date 1 dot get month equals to date 2 dot get month, and we have one more check for the year. So we'll say date 1 dot get full year, date 2 dot get full year, and this is our same day method. Next, let's check what we have. We have is weekend. So let's create the is weekend. It takes one date, and here we will say the day. First we need to get the day for that particular date 0 to 6. So we'll get the day first, and then we will return if it is weekend or not. We'll say if day equals to 0 or day equals to 6. So it will return true or false. So this is done, this is also done. Next, what we have, let's see, this we already done. Now let's create the render header. Render header, and it takes month name and year. Now this is very simple. Let me just copy and paste. It's a very simple HTML, nothing new. So we get the month name and year, and inside this HTML we just edit here. That's it. That is our render header. And if you can see again, we have all these actions here. For each button we have defined the action that we will use later. Next, let's just define our, let's see what is next, render weekdays. So let's come in here, we can define render weekdays, and in here we will need weekday names in an array. So let me just bring that array here, this array of weekday name in sort, and then we will return weekdays dot map name of the week day, and then we'll return div class black and white DatePicker. It's a weekday. Let's close here, and then the name, then we will close the div, and then we'll join all of them with empty space and we'll send them back. So this is our render weekdays. Next, what we have, next we have render day. So let's create the render day. Something is missing. Let's see, it's end here, it's end here, here, fine, yeah, okay. Now let's create the render day. Render day, it takes day data, all the data that we have for a particular day, and then let's create a array for the classes, because the day will have many classes, like if is it selected, or it is today date, is it weekend day, it is disabled, it is other month, all those classes. So we need the classes array, and by default we will add black and white DatePicker day. Now you will see how easy it is. So we don't have to calculate anything. We just say if it is not day data dot is current month. If it is not current month, what we do? We add a class. What class we add? We say post, and the class name is black and white DatePicker day, it's other month. So we push this new class. Next we check if day data dot is today. If it is not today, so we added the exclamation, which is the not. So if it is not today, we'll say classes dot push, and we push a new class. It's black and white DatePicker. It's a today, so we have to remove that. So if it is today's day, if it is today, then we'll add this class day today. Next we check if day data dot is selected. If it is selected, then we push a new class, classes dot push, and we'll push black and white DatePicker day selected. Next we have day data dot is weekend, then we'll pass classes dot push, we'll pass black and white DatePicker day weekend. Next we have day data dot is disabled. We'll pass a new class, classes dot push, black and white, date picker, day, disabled. Now we have all the classes ready. We can create our HTML and then return it. So we'll say return, and let me just copy it. It's very simple. It's HTML. So what are we doing here? We create a class from all the classes. We join all of them. Then we say data, day attribute, month and year attribute. We add all these three data here. So we can read it when we click on this particular day, and then the day that we will display on the date picker, and we just return it. So this is our render day method. Next we have, let's see what we have. Inside render we have render days is done. Next is render footer. So let's add the render footer now. Render footer, and it has selection. So if any date is selected or not, and it's simple. Let's just copy the HTML. So if it is selected, we return this one. We will add this disabled class on the clear. So if date is not selected, we don't need the button enabled because there is nothing to clear. So we add the disabled class here. And again you can see the footer has these attributes, data action, today and the clear. So this is our render footer. Now we need a couple of more methods, and then we will integrate all these methods into our datepicker.js file. So next we have the render. So render we have already done. Next we have render days and update selection. Now these two will be very important when we will integrate and we'll see the actual in our date picker. So for that, let's say render days. It will render the complete days for date picker, and it will take state first. It needs all the values from state, and what value it need? View month, view year and selected date. View month, view year and selected date. Now let's add one condition here. If this dot elements dot days, if there is no day, there is no reference in our elements, and right now we don't have anything to we don't have any cached days. It means it was never render. So first we will call render method. The render days comes into play when we are rendering only days. So if it is not already render, we will say return this dot render, and we will render the complete calendar. So first we need the calendar rendered on the page. If we have that, only then we will use this render days method. Now before that we need one more method that we need to add. So let's add that in here. That is cached. So we add one more method here, cached elements, and this one it will update all the reference to our elements object. So this dot elements, and first we have header, and header will be this dot container dot query selector, and we will select using the class name black and white, DatePicker, header. Next we have title, this dot container dot query selector, the class name is black and white, DatePicker, title. Next we have calendar, this dot container dot query selector, and class is black and white, date picker, calendar. Next we have weekdays, this dot container dot query selector, black and white, date picker, weekdays. Next we have days, it's this dot container dot query selector, the class is black and white, date picker, days. The last we have footer, so footer, this dot container dot query selector, black and white, date picker, footer. So now if we check, we are calling it here. So when we create our complete HTML and we add inside our container, then we call this method to get all the reference for each element. Now in here days element, first we need to check this, because if we don't have the days element, it means we never call the render method. So first we need the calendar render, then we will use the render days. Now let's get back to the days method, the render days. So we added this check here. Now we can continue. We'll say days, and it will get the days data. So this dot generate month grid. Here is the view year, view month, and selected date. So see how easy it is. We have created the data once. We can just call it and it will give us all the data for a complete month. So we got the data. Now let's do days HTML. So days dot map day, and then we'll say this dot render day. We already created the render day method. We'll give it day, and then we'll join the array back. Then we'll say this dot elements dot days, and we'll say inner HTML equals to days HTML. Now you see how easy it is. We have the reference to the days, and we can just update the HTML, and it will update that days HTML. That's it. Now we can update the title as well. So if we have this dot elements dot title, then we can say this dot elements dot title dot text content, and it will be this dot get month name. We'll give it view month, and we can display view year. So this is our title. Next we have the final piece, which is emitting an event. So we have rendered the days. We can inform all the listeners that days are rendered. So we'll say this dot event bus dot emit, and we can say events dot view days rendered. So we have rendered all the days, and here is the data. Month equals to view month. So for this view, for this month and year, we have rendered the days. Year, view year. This is our render days. Now we need one more method, which is update selection. So when we click on a particular date, we add a class. For that we need a method that can handle it very precisely, and when we will integrate and test it, then I will explain you how precisely it will update a particular date. So this method is very important. So let us write it here. Update selection. It takes selected date and previous month. This take previous date. So selected date and the previous date. This is what it takes. First we need to check if this dot elements dot days, if we have the days, then we can go and update, otherwise we cannot do it. So we just return early. Next, so when we click on a date, let's say the 9 is already selected and now I want to select 24. So first I need to remove that class from this date. So for that, let's just say if I have the previous date, then let's find the previous element first. So previous element, this dot find day element. Now we will create this method in just few minutes. For now, let's just add it here. We will find the previous day element and we'll check if we find the previous element. We'll say previous element dot class list dot remove, and we'll remove this class black and white DatePicker day selected. So previous date should be removed. We will remove this class. Now we have the new selected date, and for this, let's say we find the new element. This is the new element where we add the class. So we'll say this dot find element, and we give it selected date. And if we find the new element, we'll say new element dot class list dot add, and we add a new class black and white DatePicker day selected. Now we need the clear button. So clear button, we'll say this dot container dot query selector, we'll say data action equals to clear. It should be a single quote. So this is our selection, and if we find the clear button, we can say clear button dot disabled equals to not selection. So it will just remove the disabled date, it will set it to false, and this is our update selection method. Now let's create this find day element. So we'll say find day element, it takes the date, and if there is no days inside our elements object, or there is no date, then we will just return null. But if we have it, then we need to find that element. So we'll say this dot elements dot days. Now we just have to search inside our days, not the calendar, the days. Then query selector, and here is your selector. It will be data day, and its value date dot get month, get date. This is our date, and then next we have data month, and its value will be date dot get month, and next we have year. Let's add data year, and its value is date dot get full year, and this is it. This is our selector. This will select the date. Now we need two more methods, and then we will start integrating the calendar view into our date picker. We will start cleaning up and integrating this calendar view. So now let's add two more methods. Set visibility. It will take one parameter is open, and this dot container dot style dot display equals to, if it is open, then we'll say block, else we can say none. Then we check if it is open, then we can emit the event. This dot event bus dot emit will say events dot view shown. So view has been shown, else will say this dot event bus dot emit, and we'll say events dot view hidden. And the last, we need a destroy method. First we'll say this dot container dot inner HTML equals to empty, because we are removing the date picker. And then we'll say this dot elements. So if we remove the date picker, there is no element, so we set it to empty object. And then this dot, okay, we don't need this extra field, so these two are enough. And this is our calendar view file. Now we need to export it, so let's just export it here. Export default calendar view. Now let's see, yeah, everything fine. We can add .js here. Now our calendar view is ready. Now let's update our date picker. So we go to the date picker from the top. Let's start here. This is we need, and in here, see the picker element, we will, this one we will move here, and we will remove the create DOM, because create DOM, the date picker will not handle it. Our calendar view will create the DOM and update the UI on the page. So first we start here. We can just move this line here, and the class name, we also need the class name. We just put it here. We don't need these two things because we have in our calendar view, so we can remove it here. And this line here, we can just take it and move it here. So this is a one change. So it was just a very simple moving few things up here. So picker element is ready, and then we need to have our view. So this dot view, it will be new calendar view. So now we are creating an instance of our calendar view, and this calendar view takes the container. So we'll say this dot picker element, this is our container, and then the event bus, this dot event bus, and the options. So this is our instance of calendar view. Now the complete view will be handled by calendar view. Next we need update in the initialization. We don't need the create DOM, so we remove the create DOM method here. We will need the listener and the subscribe. We don't need the render. We can remove it from here, and we will remove it from one other place. So we'll say this one, we don't need it here. We can just remove it. So we update this. Now let's go to the event listener. Now before you go to the event listener, we have the set of events, subscribe. Now we have to have the initial render, because we just created the view but we did not initialize it. So let's initialize it. This dot view dot render, and it takes the state. So we'll say this dot state. Now this state is coming from our state manager. So we'll see it here. This state is coming from state manager. This dot state manager dot get state. So this is our view rendered using the calendar view. Now let's go to the setup event listener if we need any update. Let's see, this is fine. Okay, there is no change needed in this one. Let's go to the other listeners. These are fine. This is also fine. Key down is fine. Handle action is also fine. Next we have subscribe to state. Let's say this one. So in here we say event bus dot on events view. Now we don't have the render method because we have removed it, because the render will be handled by our view, the calendar view. So they have the view here, and we'll say render days. Not this one, we need render days, and then we'll say this dot state dot get state. So when the view changes, we just change the we just render the days. We don't recreate the complete calendar. View change, if I click on the next month or previous month, year, it will just render the days. We don't have to recalculate complete calendar. So we'll say render days. Next we have the visibility. We say is open, value is here. Now we can call our method from our view. We'll say view dot set visibility, and we set the value here. We just pass the value. So visibility is handled. Next we have the date select, and this update input, it no longer used from here. We can just remove it from here, and we can call our view dot update selection, because when we select the date, we will update the date selection. It will take the date and previous date. So here we will have the date and previous date. We'll pass the previous date here, and this render, it should not be here, but we need the update method back because that updates the input. We can keep it here. Next we have the clear, and we are calling the render. We can remove the render, and we can call view dot update selection, and it will take null because there is no date selected when we clear the date, and we can get the, so the update selection, it takes selected date and previous date. So there is no selected date when we click on the clear button, but we have the previous date already stored in our state, so we can fetch it from there. State dot get selected date. So subscribe to state method is updated. Now let's go to the select date. So select date is fine. Next we have our update input. Let's see, it is fine, no change needed. Then we have some public API, which is fine. Now let's see if we have to remove some methods or we can keep it. So is same day, no, we don't need it here. We can just remove. And we have the render days here. No, we are not doing any render days. So let's see. No, we are not calling it. We are just removing all the unnecessary methods here because we have moved to our calendar view. This is fine, we updated. Handle is fine, these events are fine. Yeah, now it looks all good. Now let's see if it is working or if there is any error. So we click here. Yeah, it's working. Day, month, everything is changing. So it's working fine. Okay, now let's inspect this DatePicker. I will make it a little bit bigger. Okay, this is our previous one. Now let's open this render calendar. Before that, I will show you what is here. So I have this DatePicker here for both the DatePicker, and I just initiated this one. This is just for other things which is not related to DatePicker. Now let's open this DatePicker in our browser. This is our V2 version. Now I will open it here, and I want to show you something that I told earlier. So let's open the DatePicker, the days here. Okay, now I will go back to our previous, the v1 separated the this one, the core, and in here I will show you something. So let's open the date picker here, the days, the calendar, and in here. Now if I open it and if I select any date, you will see all the dates will be rendered. When they render, they will blink. So just keep notice here. Click, you see all the divs were re-rendered. Let me do it again. See, all the values were re-rendered. Now if I go to our current version, which is render v2, so if I open the date picker, you see here this one, this is your day 1, right? And if I click here, you will not notice any other div is blinking. It only one date will be changed. See, notice here, you will see it blink, this will not. If I click here, you see only this was changed. Now if I open it again and if I check here, you will see, okay, both are selected. Let's see what is wrong. Date select handler reference is selected, is not defined. Event bus, okay, event bus date select. Let's check where it is. Okay, calendar view, where is it? Is it somewhere? Date select, no, this is fine. Date picker is fine. State manager is fine. Okay, it is passing from somewhere else. Calendar view dot update selection. Okay, 286. Calendar view 286. In here it says update selection. Let's go in here. Where is it? Okay, it's pointing here. So this error, it is coming from our state manager. So what is happening that when we click on the date, so if we go here, date picker, when we click on the date select, we are expecting the previous date, right? But in our state manager, when we select the date, when we have made this event, we are not passing the previous date. So for that, we need to update it. So previous date, this dot state dot selected date. First we take the previous date and then we update the selected date, and then we will pass this previous date to this as a data. Now let's see. We come in here, refresh the page, click here, select the date. Okay, date select. Okay, we have one more error. It says it's selected is not defined. Calendar view dot update selection. So if we go to this method, is selected. Let's see here, 286. Yeah, this one. Okay, this is not defined. We have the selected date, not is selected. We update it here. Let's see. Now update the date. Okay, update date. Okay, yeah, it's working. Now let's see that change again. So if I select day 3, only day 3 was changed. Now if I select day 4, you will see these two div will blink. Only these two will be rendered. It means they will blink. If I click here, you see it and this. So we have this date selected class here. If I click on the 3, this class will be removed and this class will be added here. Let's try it again one more time. See, only these two are rendered. But if we see in our previous version, you will see that if I open here, date picker, calendar, days. Now if I select any date, you will see all the date will blink because they are re-rendered. Click here, you see. Let me click here. See, everything is re-rendered. So this one, this update selection is very efficient updating the DOM. It just select what date it needs to update, and then it only updates that particular date for the previous and the selected date. This is what I meant when I told you that this is very important. And it is very important because we are not re-rendering the complete whole calendar, because rendering and selection of the DOM elements and other things, like whatever we do with the DOM elements, that is very expensive. So we are just doing very efficiently here, previous date and the selected date. So this is our calendar view is done now. So we have separated view from our date picker. Now we have our CalendarView.js file. It handles the rendering. But we still have HTML hard coded. What if you want to customize how a day cell looks? You want to show emoji, you want to add a badge. Right now we don't have that capability or feature to do that. In next episode, we'll create slot manager, a customizable template slots without touching our core code. I see you in next episode.